It was the kind of news that stops you in your tracks. Loni Anderson, the golden-haired television icon who brought smiles to millions, was gone. The woman who lit up screens in WKRP in Cincinnati and charmed audiences for decades had taken her final bow. But what came next was just as unexpected as her passing. Her funeral was not a grand public affair filled with flashing cameras. It was private, intimate, and closed to the public. Only a small circle of family and closest friends were there to say goodbye. The details of what happened inside left people wondering why such a beloved figure chose such a quiet farewell. The service took place in a small chapel in California, far from the Hollywood spotlight, where Loni had spent most of her career. Guests arrived in dark cars, slipping inside without speaking to reporters waiting outside. There were no television crews, no red carpets, no public speeches, just a gathering of people who knew her not as a celebrity, but as a friend, a mother, and a partner. One attendee, speaking softly, said Loni didn't want her goodbye to be about fame. She wanted it to be about love. The seating inside the chapel told its own story. In the first row sat her children, including her daughter Deidre, holding a folded white handkerchief. Next to her was Burt Reynolds' son, Quentin, who had maintained a close bond with Loni, despite the end of her marriage to Burt decades ago. In the second row were former co-stars who had shared both the fun and struggles of the entertainment industry. There were no flashy tributes, just simple bouquets of white roses, her favorite flower. Placed on either side of her framed photograph, those who knew Loni spoke about her warmth more than her beauty. Though she was often called one of the most stunning women in Hollywood. One friend remembered, she had a way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room, even when the cameras were rolling. Another recalled how she quietly supported charities for children with cancer, often making donations without putting her name in the spotlight. This side of her, the woman who gave without wanting recognition, was what her family wanted to be remembered. Comparisons quickly began to rise among those outside the chapel. Many remembered how other Hollywood legends like Betty White or Lucille Ball had grand public tributes that celebrated their careers on a massive scale. Loni's choice was different. It was more like the private farewell of Audrey Hepburn, who also slipped away quietly, surrounded by love rather than lights. The contrast made people reflect, was this a final statement from Loni that life should be about personal connections, not public approval? Music played a gentle role in the service. Soft piano version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow filled the room as a slideshow of her life appeared on a small screen. There were pictures of her in glamorous gowns from her TV days, but also snapshots of her at home, hair tied back, smiling at a barbecue with friends, laughing while playing with her grandchildren. These moments seemed to mean more than any award or magazine cover ever could. One of the most emotional moments came when her daughter stood to speak. With her voice shaking, she said, "She was more than my mother. She was my safe place, my biggest cheerleader, and my example of strength. She taught me that beauty fades, but kindness lasts forever." Her words brought tears to nearly everyone present. Her passing also made people revisit her career, the roles she took, the way she navigated Hollywood, and how she carried herself when the spotlight faded. Like some who chase fame until the end, Loni embraced a quieter life in her later years. She still appeared in occasional interviews and charity events, but her focus was on family. It was this balanced fame, without losing herself, made her stand out compared to some of her peers. Notably absent from the funeral were any public figures who might have turned it into a media event. This was by design. One guest mentioned, "Loni said years ago that she didn't want her goodbye to be another Hollywood show. She had enough of that in life." It is a sentiment that sets her apart in an industry where final farewells often become spectacles. Outside, fans gathered, quietly holding flowers and handwritten letters. Though they could not attend, some left their tributes at the chapel gates. One fan, with tears in her eyes, told reporters, "She made me believe in myself when I was a teenager. I wish I could tell her that one last time." Her private funeral also sparked conversations about how we remember public figures. Should their legacy be celebrated publicly, or should their families have the right to grieve in peace? The same question arose when Prince's funeral was held privately, and when David Bowie requested no public service at all. In Loni's case, the answer seemed clear: her life was public, but her goodbye was hers alone. The burial was just as simple. Her casket, draped in white flowers, was taken to a small cemetery where only immediate family attended. No press, no public markers, just a quiet plot under a tree. Some compared it to the resting places of stars like Grace Kelly and Ava Gardner, both of whom were remembered in smaller, personal ceremonies, despite their worldwide fame. For those closest to her, the funeral was not about mourning a celebrity, but about cherishing a person. A friend who worked with her on WKRP said, "We laughed together, we cried together. She was sunshine and steel all at once. That's what I'll miss." Absence leaves a gap, not only in Hollywood, but in the lives she touched off screen. While many will remember her for her beauty and television charm, those who knew her personally will remember her for the quiet acts of kindness. The phone calls to check in on friends, and the way she never let the industry change her values. In the days following the service, messages from friends and former colleagues flooded social media. Co-star Howard Hesseman's family posted an old behind-the-scenes photo with the caption, "She brought laughter to every set and grace to every moment." Another actor from the WKRP cast wrote, "She never treated her success as something to hold over others. She lifted people up, always." These heartfelt words showed that her legacy was built on more than just talent. It's built on how she treated people. Interestingly, several industry veterans pointed out how rare it was for an actress of her era to maintain such a positive reputation. In Hollywood, where competition can be fierce and relationships fragile, Loni stood out. Her quiet dignity in the face of personal and professional challenges drew comparisons to Mary Tyler Moore, another actress known for balancing fame with humility. While some stars made headlines for scandals, Loni's name was almost always tied to her work or her charity efforts. As the day ended and the chapel doors closed, the private farewell of Loni Anderson became a public conversation, not because of what was shown, but because of what was kept private. It reminded people that sometimes the most powerful goodbyes are the ones shared in small rooms, away from cameras, with only love and memory filling the air. Loni Anderson's private funeral was not the Hollywood send-off many expected, but perhaps it was exactly what she wanted. In a world where celebrities often make their last moments a stage, she chose something else: intimacy, sincerity, and peace. It made her farewell more personal, but also more thought-provoking. How do you think she will be remembered compared to other stars who had public farewells? Was her quiet goodbye a way of protecting her family, or a final message about what truly matters in life? And in an age where everything is shared, does keeping something private make it even more meaningful?